Nobody questioned her story. Not the police, not the lawyers, not even the court. And that was the first mistake, because the story sounded too clean, too complete, too perfectly arranged. And by the time someone finally decided to look closer, an innocent man was already sitting in the defendant's chair, waiting for his life to be decided. Before the truth unfolds, subscribe to the Unheard Witness, because sometimes the most dangerous lie is the one nobody thinks to challenge. The case began with a call late at night, a distressed voice reporting a violent incident inside a quiet residential home. Officers arrived within minutes. The scene looked chaotic. Furniture overturned, broken glass scattered across the floor, and a woman sitting near the doorway, shaking, holding her arm. She said someone had attacked her, someone she knew, someone she trusted. She gave a name. The man was arrested the same night. He did not resist. He did not argue. He simply kept repeating the same thing. He said he had not been there, but the officers had already seen enough. The woman had visible injuries, bruises forming along her arm, a cut near her forehead. The house showed signs of a struggle, and most importantly, she knew exactly who to accuse. The investigation moved quickly. Her statement was clear. She said the man had come to her house unannounced. They argued. Voices were raised. Then he became aggressive. She described the moment in detail. The push, the fall, the objects breaking around them. Every part of her story flowed naturally. Nothing felt forced, and nothing felt uncertain. The officers documented everything. Photographs, medical reports, damage to the house. The pieces aligned perfectly. The man denied everything during questioning. He said he had not seen her that night. He said he had been somewhere else, but his alibi was weak. No witnesses, no clear proof, just his word against hers, and her story sounded stronger. The case moved to court within weeks. The prosecutor presented the evidence with confidence. The victim's testimony was consistent. Her injuries matched her description. The scene supported her claims. The defendant had a past disagreement with her, a reason for conflict, a reason for anger. Everything made sense. The jury listened closely. Because the story was easy to follow, easy to believe, the woman took the stand. She spoke calmly, carefully, every detail delivered without hesitation. She described the argument, the escalation, the moment everything turned violent. Her voice carried just enough emotion. Not too much, not too little. The balance felt real. The courtroom watched her closely, because nothing in her story seemed out of place. The defense attorney rose slowly when it was his turn. He did not challenge her immediately. Instead, he asked simple questions. Where she had been earlier that day, what time she returned home, what she did before the incident. Her answers remained steady, unchanged. Then he asked about the phone call she made to the police. She confirmed she called immediately after the incident. The timeline appeared solid. The defense attorney nodded, and then sat down. At first it seemed like he had nothing to argue, because there was nothing obvious to attack. The man on trial sat silently, watching everything unfold, as if he already knew no one would believe him. The prosecution rested. The judge reviewed the evidence. Everything pointed in one direction. The story had no visible cracks, but something about the timeline stayed in the defense attorney's mind. Not wrong, just slightly off. A detail that felt too precise, too perfectly aligned. He requested access to the emergency call records. The judge allowed it. The audio was played in court. The woman's voice filled the room, shaking, urgent. She described the attack, the moment it happened. the fear she felt. The details matched her testimony exactly. Yes, but as the recording continued, something small appeared, something easy to miss. A background sound, faint, almost buried beneath her voice. The defense attorney asked the court to replay the audio, this time focusing on the background. The sound became clearer, a rhythmic noise, soft, consistent. The courtroom listened carefully, because it did not sound like chaos. It did not sound like a recent struggle. It sounded like something else entirely. The attorney paused the audio, then asked a simple question: what time the call was made. The clerk confirmed the timestamp. Then the attorney asked what time the incident supposedly occurred. The woman repeated her earlier answer. Minutes before the call. The timeline still appeared correct, but the attorney was not finished. He requested the court examine the home's security system logs. The woman had mentioned the system earlier, said it was inactive during the incident. The logs told a different story. The system had been armed, not disarmed, and it had not detected any forced entry. No door opened, no window triggered, nothing. The courtroom shifted slightly, because now the story was no longer perfect. The woman insisted the system must have malfunctioned. Technical issues happen. The prosecutor supported the explanation. But the defense attorney introduced another detail. The background sound from the call, he identified it. A washing machine running on a spin cycle, the kind of steady rhythm that becomes louder in quiet environments. The woman looked confused. It's because she had never mentioned using any appliance during the incident. The attorney then presented electricity usage data from the house. The washing machine had been running for over 30 minutes before the emergency call, which meant it had started well before the alleged attack. The courtroom grew quieter, because now the timeline had shifted. If the machine had been running earlier, then the call might not have been made immediately after the incident. The defense attorney moved carefully. He asked the court to examine the sequence of events again. The machine running, the house security system still armed, no forced entry, no external access. Then the physical evidence, the broken objects inside the house. The pattern of damage suggested movement in one direction. Not random, not chaotic, nay, more controlled, as if the scene had been created rather than caused. The prosecutor objected again. Speculation. But the judge allowed the analysis to continue, because the details were no longer aligning perfectly. The defense attorney revealed the final piece slowly. The man accused of the crime had been captured on a traffic camera across town at the exact time the incident supposedly occurred. The footage had been overlooked, misfiled under a different time stamp. But once corrected, it placed him miles away. The courtroom fell into complete silence. Because now, everything changed. The woman's story had been accepted without question. Her injuries had been real. The damage had been real. But the timeline had been constructed, carefully, deliberately, and the truth had been hidden inside details no one thought to examine. The man who had been sitting quietly finally looked up, because the weight of the accusation was beginning to lift. And the court realized something too late. Nobody had questioned her story, and that had been the first mistake.